fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no, we don't have to fight.
Hello, welcome to episode 9 of Just Chill with Oliver George. We have the light on. Our guest is sitting here, someone that I know fairly well, I feel like. Friends, we could say. It's Janelle Niles. Probably one of our main listeners / viewers, I would say.
I'm always watching.
Consistent since the beginning, yeah. I'm going to do the contact info so I don't forget. If you want to reach out to us, which no one has, justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. Send us a message. Just say, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, this show fucking sucks, or whatever. Anything would be good at this point, because I'm just feeling like there's no point in even putting up the contact info anymore. All in good time. So, first of all, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
I'm doing pretty good. I just finished my last exams for this term on Wednesday, and I'm free.
Nice.
So,
that's always a good feeling.
I'm decompressing, but I'm also I'm hyped to see John Wing tonight.
Oh, nice.
At the Mark Hatfield's show.
The Friday night? Oh, yeah. I didn't know he was on that. I saw John Wing was going to be there, but I didn't.
Yeah, he's going to be on the Mark Hatfield show, and he's going to have his own show right afterwards. That's usually how it
That makes
works.
sense. Yeah, John Wing's pretty classic. Like, he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, when I was younger, I watched him as a kid, and I've recorded everything he did. And
so you were a really big fan.
I'm a big fan of just comedy in general. I've been a big fan since I can remember.
I would say, yeah, I've noticed you more than anyone. You really do your research, and you watch so many comics. Every comment I see about is you're going to a show almost every other night.
I have to, man. This is my dream.
Yeah, you don't have kids. You can do that.
Yeah, I don't have kids, and I don't think I will have them.
Oh, really?
I think I'm going to be one of those cynical people that, because you need those people, right?
The resents parents.
Yeah, because you have no energy, but we do. So all the things you're cynical about, we'll take on the responsibility and be cynic for you.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Although I will say I've met a lot of people that are like, I'm never going to be a parent. And then I see them 2 years later and they're like, I met someone. So you never know how the cookie's going to crumble, especially where love is involved. It can kind of shift things.
I might adopt in the future because my plumbing kind of doesn't work. But
I didn't know those details. But yeah,
over it.
But hey, having a uterus isn't the only way to be a mom. That's
exactly.
for sure.
If I in the future, if I ever wanted to adopt, then I would have to make sure my significant other would be on the same page. Because sometimes guys generally want to pass on their genetics.
True. So. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Some guys might not like the idea of raising
so there has to be
child as much.
I'd rather him do it for both of us than just me, because that's not tight. I want a tight relationship.
Well, the main argument for adoption, besides if you can't have kids, is just that there's so many kids that need to be loved.
That's what my one of the healers said when he was giving me my spirit name. He's like, because you are barren and you can't have children, watch out, because every single person on the reserves is going hey, we got this kid here that needs a mom.
Oh.
Yeah, and
kind of fill that role.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see when I'm older. Maybe I'll be that wise woman who has 20 kids who just giving.
Well, that's the cool thing about adoption, right? There's no age limit in the same way that getting pregnant, you kind of run more risks after 35, 40. It starts to get kind of sketchy.
Exactly.
But adoption, you could technically adopt when you're 50, I guess.
That's it.
As long as you can prove that you're able to care for the kid.
100%.
I don't know though. Having kids, whether it be adopting through natural childbirth, if you do it when you're in your 50s and stuff, I always think that's got to be a weird dynamic when the kid hits their teens. I knew one guy in high school whose parents were 70, and I was like, dude, that's so weird. Not weird, but you know what I mean? It's got to be a weird relationship when your dad's
I actually have a coworker who in security, he's 26 and his dad is 75, and because 76. 75? I don't know. He got adopted from Thailand when they were 50 and he was a newborn.
Okay.
And he is so out of the loop. He was not raised by this generation. I was raised, my mom's in her late 40s, but I was raised by that generation. But he's raised by the boomer generation, and he does not know how to speak. Just in general.
He's got some old-fashioned values.
Yes, 100%. And he's obsessed with war and guns and all that stuff. And old comics, I don't even know. I'm looking to read them up. He's obsessed with black and white everything.
I wonder what old comics.
You know what? I'm gonna have to write it down next time.
Are you talking like pre-Marvel, pre-DC, like really?
No, comedians.
Oh, comics. Okay, I thought you meant comics. Like,
Sorry,
my nerd brain activated when I heard.
It's
comics.
okay, comics, comedians.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to, I would like to like share with you how I I got into comedy.
Well, that I have a big list.
Okay.
I was gonna say
that first or is that fourth?
Well, originally I was gonna start just by saying that you run an awesome show with your
you.
sister at Eddie's, and that's how I met you probably at a smaller show before. I think I met you at Swizzles or something. Or
you met me at Swizzles, and I was like, who is this guy? So funny.
You were just so nice right off the bat. You're one of those people that I felt like just like instant friendship, like no awkwardness, just you're a very welcoming, warm energy kind of person.
Try to manipulate people that way.
Well, that's what I was going to say is your show is very fun, and you've just like managed to become really ingrained in the local Ottawa comedy scene. And when I watched your video that you sent me, it was like a summary on, it was like what would you call that video you sent me? Like a...
So that video I sent you was it's
almost like a demo reel, kind of.
Yeah, so, I was asked by my Canadian Identity and Multiculturalism course to make a video that had some criteria from the course. It was my elective course for my general elective I have to take.
Okay.
And they said it could be about multiculturalism, it could be about this, it could be about that, or indigenization. So I'm so happy I said that right the first time. So indigenization of bringing indigenous cultures into society and like mixing them, integrating them without like fully colonizing or assimilation, And I was like, oh, I'm doing that with comedy.
Yeah,
that's what
100%,
I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to make a video about where I started, even though I only went from like when I was in my late 20s, but like I made that and it's like here, and I haven't got graded, but
it works well though to kind of sum up what you're all about.
Exactly, and went all the way up to the dean of Algonquin College because I sent it to a teacher. I'm like, professor, you'd love this, and she's like, I do, and I sent it to everyone. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
Thank you. And then I was like, it would be great to send to you because then it has some talking points
in there. Very helpful. Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff I knew, but a lot of it I didn't. And it was just a really cool way to kind of get a vibe for some stuff to talk about. But what I was going to say is, the show that you run, the thing that was most impressive to me that I didn't know was that you've only been even involved in the comedy scene since 2019. So just this year, you've started doing stand-up yourself and started running these shows like every second week, is it?
It's a bi-weekly Tuesday show. I actually got wherever it is. Sorry, this is my joke book I got in Dublin.
Oh, nice.
And I've torn so many pages out. It's really hard to like...
What are the torn pages jokes that you decided weren't good?
No, we need a page for Lotto. Can I borrow a page for Lotto?
Just like necessity,
If people don't know what Lotto is, it's when you go to a comedy club that's a true open mic, they have Lotto system where you rip your name off, put in a hat, and then they'll call you up on stage when it's your turn to come up.
Kind of like Kill Tony or something.
Yeah, exactly. I love Kill Tony.
Kill Tony's so fun.
Yeah, so I have like comedy at Eddie's. This is actually for your wall.
Oh, perfect.
I know it's kind of like a self-plug.
There's your camera.
But it's a bi-weekly Tuesday show called Comedy at Eddie's Diner. The guy, it's named after him. He never shows up, but there you go. Comedy at Eddie's. It's an early show from 7 to 9. So if you're a comedian, it's for amateurs or professionals. So if you're a professional comedian and you want to try your set before you go to Absolute or Yuck Yucks, give me a call. I'll throw you up there, bullet, just, getting it up there.
And you don't do Lotto spots there, though, right?
No, unfortunately, I do not do
Lotto.
Lotto.
One thing I was going to say for people who don't know Lotto is, like, there's lots of shows where they do have, like, a set list, and then they'll just have, like, 1 or 2 Lotto spots.
My partner or boyfriend, he did a true Lotto, and I'm like,
The great Chris LaPointe.
Yeah, the great Chris LaPointe. I also have a gift for you and for your dad.
Right on.
1 second here.
Yeah, Chris is a good guy.
So for your dad, I have this little canister. It says, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And I got this at the Guinness factory in Dublin. And It has Guinness flavored fudge. And I want this.
See, no one's ever brought anything for my dad.
Yeah, I know.
That's how we know you watch the show, because you're like thinking about the guy behind the scenes.
Exactly. Hey, Jamie, pull that up. Where's Jamie's gift, And
Yeah, Dad is the Jamie Kilstein for this show for sure.
exactly. 1 second, this thing came off. I brought this for you because
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
I brought you Carnage.
That's so rad.
Yeah, because I keep seeing Spider-Man up there. But I'm
Yeah,
like, where the
Spider-Man's one of my main
Yeah.
jams for sure. And
Carnage
is,
and Venom are mine, so I thought you should have Carnage.
That's awesome. Check that shit out. I actually had a Carnage figure sort of like this when I was a kid, but not nearly as intricate. And this one's got like many points of articulation. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the Venom movie I still haven't even seen in its entirety. I watched like half of it and I was just so not impressed.
Get on that. It's amazing.
Really? Because everyone was digging it and I thought it was like decent, but to me, to take out the Spider-Man part of that
Yeah.
story just ruins it. It's like the whole reason the symbiote had web powers and all these things is because it previously bonded to Peter Parker and it got all the spider
Yeah.
powers. So for them to just like make it just go straight to Eddie
Exactly.
Brock feels like comic book
It
wrong.
was. I felt the same way with. I'm a big, huge Bruce Campbell fan and the Evil Dead series. I felt
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same way about the new Evil Dead. I was all like, "Oh, am I gonna like this? It's not the same, and how they like. Yes, I guess they still read from the book, but it's still not the same. And
Yeah.
it's like I had to get over myself, and I'm like, I guess it's good for Zoomers. I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
good.
You could do that with every movie, especially as a comic fan. You
Yeah.
could go to every movie and be that angry nerd who's like,
They didn't get this right from episode or issue.
whatever,
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, that was like, I'm normally not that guy. I'm pretty good at going to movies
Mm-hmm.
and being like, hey, different interpretation. At least we have a fucking movie of these superheroes that I've wanted to see on the big screen
Mm-hmm.
my whole life, But that one was just too big. It was such a core
Yeah.
element of the Venom story
Exactly.
to take out the Spider-Man thing. And it also was just a sour point because it makes you think at the time about the whole Sony fucking Disney bullshit
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
that was going on, which is finally quashed. And now we're going to get some integration. But
Mm-hmm.
at the time, yeah, it was just like a thorn in the side. I was a huge X-Men fan too,
Yeah.
so Fox having the rights to keep putting out those shitty X-Men movies instead of
Exactly.
just making them join the
I have a
MCU.
point to ask you about that.
Sure, yeah.
But first, like, didn't Eminem like serenade you into the Venom too with his Venom?
Oh yeah, he did part of the soundtrack. Eh?
No, I don't know. It was like an earworm for like a week. But with X-Men, my biggest play was like the first. I don't know if it was the first or the second movie, but they fucked up Rogue. And Rogue was my
yeah.
favorite.
It was the first movie, yeah.
Yeah, Rogue was my favorite X-Men, next to Storm. And I loved her southern drawl, Oh, it was amazing.
They still made her Southern in the movie, but she was just okay. If you want to talk comic accuracy,
Yeah.
it's not completely wrong because in the comics when Rogue first started out, she only had the ability to steal people's
Yeah.
shit and make them go unconscious or whatever. She couldn't fly. She didn't have super strength.
Yeah,
any of
because
that.
she took other mutants' powers to be able to gain flight and stuff.
Temporarily, yeah. And she was actually part of the Brotherhood, so she
Yeah.
worked with Magneto and them at the beginning, and then she switched to the X-Men. But what's really cool, and what they could have done if they had integrated it into the MCU, is that the way that she became able to permanently fly and have super strength, which from like the
Yeah.
cartoon and all that, is she fucking held on to Carol Danvers
Yes.
for way too
Yes,
long,
that's,
and it fucked her up. And
exactly.
then Miss Marvel was all like having some of Rogue's memory
Yeah.
or whatever. They like it
Yeah.
brain melded them somehow, and it fucked them both up. But then that's why Rogue can now fly forever and super strong forever. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, I know what you mean. Like when you see Rogue on
She-
the big screen, you want her to be kicking ass. And
Exactly. And as a woman, I'm like, come on, be that like fucking kick-ass woman, just be like, snippy, but, hard strong.
she was such a damsel in distress. Yeah,
Exactly. And she was a little, am I allowed to swear on here?
You can say
She
whatever
was
the
a
fuck
little
you want.
cunt bitch. She was a little bitch.
I thought you were just going to say
Not
this,
the
and then you're
actor.
like, let's throw a cunt in there
Not
since I
the
can't.
actor. I don't want to blame the actor because she
Anna
had,
Paquin, yeah,
she was just doing as she was, was how like the director told her to act. But I just didn't like the character as a whole. I wanted that voluptuous, like badass Amazonian,
Just a
Rogue.
grown-up woman version. Yeah.
Exactly.
But you know what's interesting, and why I think they did that is because Wolverine in the comics has always had a younger sort of protege.
Yeah.
First time around in the comics, it was Kitty Pryde.
Yes.
And then it was eventually Jubilee. So I think they just took that
Jubilee.
role and shoved it on Rogue because they didn't want to make either of those. Anyways, I could talk for nerdy
Oh no,
shit forever.
I know, and I was saying that to your other guest, Matthew Champ. We were talking the same thing. It's just like I'm an old school otaku, but I also big like comic book nerd myself, and he's all like, yeah, we trailed off into that, and I was like, yeah, that's so cool. I'm gonna be happy. I'm like surrounded by my people.
Well, I made it pretty clear on like one of the early episodes, or whenever the first time, probably with Chris, that nerdy shit came up, where I was like, hey, if you're gonna watch this show, this is gonna happen periodically. Like, yeah, shit. What I was gonna say about Carnage though, and the symbiote thing is that I thought was funny was when they first released the trailer. The scientists in the trailer were saying symbiote.
Oh yes.
And then people hated it and raged online, and then they edited it all.
Symbiote.
Who says symbiote? So one thing I was going to say though about you and your sister running the show is more just about having a twin. I just wanted to talk to you about like what's that like? You're probably sick of hearing this shit, but
no, it's okay.
I've always kind of thought it would be cool to have a twin.
See, I have a twin, but she's 2 minutes older than me because we had to be birthed by a cesarean. Okay. But she's like I'm like the middle child, if you will. Like I have an unhealthy disposition to fairness because I'm the middle child. But me and my twin, it's crazy. We had to share everything, even though there was this like power differential. Like she was the older twin and I was the younger twin. You know,
2 minutes.
It was the weirdest. I know, but we actually split off. You know Bo Burnham, right?
Yeah.
You know his song like Right Brain, Left Brain?
Yeah, I love it.
Well,
yeah.
I'm the left brain. I am the logical one, aware of patterns. And she's like the emotional one and love and on.
Yeah.
And that's how we are. She went into... I think it was like 2001. She went into like Mariah Carey, Beyonce, Mary J. Blige, you know, those girls, you know. And I went into Linkin Park and Fall Out Boy and Panic
you're like
at
the punk version of the twins.
I'm at the punk, and we like split like personality wise, and like we've never been as close as we were as children. But you know, I still love her. Like we're like it's like looking into a mirror. So sometimes I get a little. She taught me this word the other day, curt. Where I can come off as rude and
it's like short, being short with somebody.
Exactly. But I'm just like I have a lot of strong emotions when I'm just worried about her. Or she's making the right choices, but she does the exact same thing to me. So.
Interesting. Yeah, you're always going to have that special bond. But I think it's cooler that you guys have really unique identities because if anything, I find when twins are like when they live their lives and they dress the same, that's when it gets weird.
Oh yeah, they need therapy. They're who are you?
Yeah, it's like I can't live without you or whatever. That's and parents who dress their twins the same. I get the temptation, but come on, let your kids have their own fucking identity.
We stopped that when we had the chance.
And you got to wonder if there's parents who have ever just like mixed them up when they were really young and just be like, I guess you're Dennis now.
With me and my twin, I was born premature, but Jolene, it was because she was eating all my food. So she was out to get me from the get-go. she was eating all my food, and I was so small. I was like 3 pounds 4 ounces, and she was like 6 pounds something ounces.
Oh, weird.
I know. So I was always called Peanut because I was so small, and she was called Moosey because she
I didn't realize you could have that kind of a differential.
Yeah,
that's insane.
And we're identical, surprisingly. We're not even fraternal.
So she's just like hogging the goods when you were in there. That's nuts.
And I was learning in a class that when babies are premature, that their hormones can have some negative repercussion, like some fluctuations. And I think that is why me and her have kind of different looks. Because
you guys are identical twins.
Yeah, we're identical twins, but we have...
You have a bit of a different...
We have a tiny different look, and I think that might be the hormones, how we grew up.
I wouldn't know because I always just assumed it was based more on like because you guys dress differently and you have tattoos and like... You know, just the way you guys carry yourself is different.
She has one tattoo, and she'll kill me if I told you what it was. Can I tell you what it is?
Go ahead. We could censor it out if you really want.
No. It's she'll be like, oh, come on.
What's on the butt or something?
It's above the butt. It's like right on the coccyx. Is that?
Oh, that's in like the tramp stamp area?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just like 2 Asian symbols. That I don't know
what does it mean, or does she know?
She's told me 1,000 times, but I just say, "Oh, chicken noodle soup." That's what I just said. Like,
I would think you would get like an indigenous symbol if go with your roots.
I'm actually trying to do. I'm going to be doing that with my my arm here when I go back in Nova Scotia.
Well, granted, I don't know tons about Native culture, but Native art is really, really nice. I've always liked like the orca ones you see from the West Coast and stuff.
I have a ring right now that has like a raven and a wolf on it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, for sure.
I found that up in Yellowknife on the ground.
Yeah, that's the same style. It's like totem pole style.
Yeah.
Oh, you found this?
Yeah, I was the creator wanted me to have that ring, so I'm like, and then I lost it for 2 months, and
you found it again?
in my room, out of all places. But I tried to buy a new one, but it turned my finger green. so it wasn't
Oh,
for
it's
me.
one
So I
of
had to
those
return
reactions.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
$200 to turn my finger green. I know.
Isn't that a sign of like cheap metal, or is that just allergic?
Sometimes they put like just minute traces of metal into sterling silver or something just so it can like
Make
have
an
some
alloy.
more strength. But I had a very bad reaction to it, so I had to return it, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's some people who can't wear like any kind of jewelry because they're, especially like earrings and stuff,
Yeah,
will get all swollen.
and the acidity of their skin
Weird.
also does break down metals. Yeah.
That's crazy about the twin shit, man. I can't even wrap my mind around the fact that one baby came out like half the size of the other.
I know.
Nuts. And do you ever get like, sorry to go back to the twin
No, it's
thing,
okay.
but do you ever
It's all
get like those weird, they say twins have like a feeling when something happens to the other twin?
Yes, all the time. Sometimes I'll text her. I'm like, "What's your problem?" And she'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "Well, what are you feeling right now?" She's like,
you're
"I'm
feeling
pissed
down.
off about this." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I
That's weird.
yeah, get out that mood because I don't know why I'm feeling like this right now, and it happens. It's like a kinetic, like
Empathetic.
yeah, empathetic
Yeah, yeah.
connection." And I actually have a 6-minute bit about it. It's just a 6-minute long story about. But it's just one part of it. But it's like my twin knew exactly where I was hiding, and it was like she came and she found me. And
Oh, like hide and go seek or whatever? Yeah.
but more of I was in trouble, and she was going to tell me that they know where I am now, and then you better come home or they'll come get me.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're twins, right? We have this like competition like thing in our head, like who
That makes
loves
sense.
who more, all that stuff. It was ingrained in our early childhood that like who's smarter, who's dumber, who's right, who's wrong, who's big, who's small, who's in charge, who's
And she
not
can
in
always
charge.
throw out the 2 minute earlier thing.
Exactly,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single time. Yeah, now she has a car, and I'm probably never gonna drive. I'll just have someone chauffeur me.
Oh, so you're never going to have kids. You're never going to drive.
I want
Be a
to
bus
learn
lady.
to drive. There's another hurdle to overcome. Like comedy was a big hurdle to overcome. Driving's the next one because I am because I have a PhD in daydreaming, and I'm scared that I'm just gonna like go disappear
crazy.
out of my
You're
mind.
actually worried you're gonna, like,
disassociate,
crash
and then
or something?
boom and crash. Yeah.
I think a lot of that anxiety of driving really does dissipate over like it takes a couple years.
Yeah.
But like I'm dealing with that with Kelly, my fiance, because she's gotten her G1 3 times and let it
too.
expire 3 times, which takes 5 years.
Yes,
So
I
basically
know.
the last
Me
15
too.
years, Kelly's been trying to get her G2. And I think she has
feel
till
you,
March
Kelly.
now.
I've done the exact same thing, and I just stopped. I just got one of those pink IDs now that like.
Pink IDs.
So
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay,
the,
it's like
the
a-
Ontario ID card that people get when they want to buy alcohol, but they don't want a driver's license. You
Yeah,
know,
it's like a
stuff that.
substitute for
Yeah.
the driver's license. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, but I can relate, and I was going to say I find it, maybe it's just because you guys are older that there's more of like you just feel more shy about the fact that you're learning. When you're 16, it's like that's the
Yeah.
expected age. So I think there's more pressure on you when
Yeah.
you're a full-grown adult being like, yeah, I'm learning to drive.
Just like going into college too, because I was out of out of school for 10 years, and then I knew I had a learning disability. I knew I was dyslexic. However, I never got
Kelly too.
tested.
Damn.
Yeah, I never got tested. And when I got into college, I found out that, oh, I'm not as dumb as I think I am. I got this.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to apply myself as much as
What
we
an
all
annoying
hate
term,
that
yeah.
term. I just have to kind of just keep at it, learning how to learn again.
Yeah.
And they teach you that in the first couple weeks, and then as long as you get some. I'm not saying you have to have friends or you have to be chum with your classmates, but sometimes it's good to, oh, how do you do this? Oh, okay. Can I, not taking people's notes or
No, but getting tips on-
getting
yeah.
tips like how to just make study cards. Well, can you show me what you put on the study like how you're formulating them and how same thing with comedy. How are you writing your list? Like for
It's a fine
your
line, though,
joke
because the
list.
best way is always going to be like taking bits of those, but then
Yeah,
finding your own
exactly.
unique way of doing
That's
it.
how it works, right?
Yeah.
That's how the Chinese replicate all of our all of our technology.
I thought they made all this shit first.
Oh yeah.
Japan and China, I thought they were the creators when it came to tech. I don't know. No, it's over here and they steal the ideas. Is that?
Reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
I thought
There's
that would
the
be like the
words.
Russians doing shit like that.
Only the cars.
We will figure out how they make it.
You know?
Da.
We can make smart car too.
That was terrible Russian accent.
Sorry.
So I was going to mention though, one of your shows you did at Eddie's was an
Yeah.
indigenous show. You've done
Got land, yeah.
The second one was at Algonquin, though, right?
Yes, and the
That's
third
awesome.
one will be at Carleton University, and I'm in
Nice.
talks with Cornwall and Toronto.
That's awesome. So this was a show that you put on where all the performers were...
Indigenous.
Okay, that's another thing. We need to do a sidebar here.
Okay.
One of the things I wrote down. What is the right fucking thing to say? Indigenous, First Nations, Native American, or Aboriginal? Or are they
Okay.
all okay?
So way back when,
Yeah.
they called us savages, and then they called us
That's brutal.
Indians because Christopher Columbus doesn't know how to use a compass. And then
yeah.
they called us redskins, and then they called us
all of those are terrible.
natives, and then it was Aborigines, and then Aboriginals, and after Aboriginals it was
First Nations, maybe?
First Nations, and then it was Indigenous, and now it's going to be Indigenese.
Oh
You know what? I always said I was Native. Like I'm actually half Native. I'm half Native and half Black.
Okay.
So the Black side and the Native side in Nova Scotia. There's a whole story, but yeah. So I'm half.
No, I
half
heard there was a
Native.
big Black community.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot to go into. I'll if you remind me, I'll
For
go
sure,
after.
yeah.
But so you can call us Native, First Nations, Indigenous. Indigenous is like the politically correct term
That's
to
the
say
current
now.
one? Okay.
I didn't even like it at first because I'm not a vegetable. Okay,
I thought
I'm not a watermelon indigenous to this country. but if you know our creation story, then yes, we are kind of indigenous to the earth from our creation story. So I guess I'm going to use it because it is widely known. Indigenous. It's like the Aboriginals of Australia. They're indigenous to Australia.
Yeah, the Maori, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or is that New Zealand?
Oh wait, am I
Oh,
wrong?
that's New Zealand?
No, sorry.
No, they have
said yes to some.
Aboriginals. Do the Australian ones have their own?
The Aborigines. Yeah.
Oh, they're just called Aborigines? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought of Maori with the face
Sorry.
tattoos and all that.
I said yes before I knew what I was saying. So call us indigenous or natives.
So none of the
First
ones I
Nations.
said would be like offensive then? No. First Nations is what I thought it was now.
Yeah.
But like, haven't they proven that everybody came from Africa? That's kind of where my brain goes too.
Oh yeah. Woo. Yes. A very, very long time ago, we all came from Africa. But we can't just go up to some Polish guy. Hey, you're from Africa.
Yeah, you look super black.
Can you imagine? Oh my goodness.
It's kind of nuts though, like that we fight about countries and race so much, only to be like, oh, we all came from the same place.
Yeah.
Especially people that are super, like, let's say, racist against black people, like Ku Klux Klan.
It's
like,
human nature. If there's this Kurzgrig, I can't even say the name right, but it's a YouTube channel, and they talk about the colonies of ants and how the ants like went from like South America and all of that, and how they're at war with each other right now. And I'm like,
crazy.
shit, that's just like humans. Like we're animals, man. That's just
that's
human
nuts.
nature, animal
so there's
nature.
warring ant tribes still?
Yes, 100%.
Who's the guy who researches that? That's got to be...
I know. I'll send it to you later if I.
That
if
sounds
I-
pretty cool. I
yeah,
mean, I knew
it's
ants were
amazing.
like organized creatures, but I
Yeah.
didn't know they had like
Yeah,
beefs
they're
with
in
territory.
armies. Yeah,
Makes
they're in-
sense.
There's like a war going on right now between the ants.
I always thought that like the smaller you were as a creature, especially bugs,
Yeah.
the less like sort of independent thought and choice you have. They work more as like a hive mind.
Colony.
Like, yeah, exactly. A colony,
Yeah.
you know? So I never really thought that they would.
So do we. We
resort
just
to
don't
that.
know it. Like we think we have independent like thought in a way, but we still follow the rules and the law that governs us all.
Some.
Yeah. So
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to have like a beehive where there's one bee who's just a fucking serial killer bee who murders a bunch of the other bees. At least as far as I
isn't
know.
that Jared Leto and his little island?
What?
Oh, apparently Jared Leto has an island.
I bet lots of celebrities
Yeah.
have their own islands.
I saw him in concert, and it looked like he literally was dressed like Jesus. Long hair, everything white, crown.
He was doing that for a little while. Yeah,
It was the last time I saw Linkin Park before Chester passed.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and I'm like,
You were a big fan of theirs?
oh, yeah, 100%. When I was younger, I bought Hybrid Theory. It was like next to Pokemon 2000. It was like the only CD I've ever bought. And my mom got some.
Don't date yourself too much.
My mom was just like, what does it mean? In the end, it doesn't even matter. And I'm all like, it's just lyrics, Mom. And then
Sounds kind of sad for
16
sure.
years later, I'm
Yeah, he offs himself.
Yeah,
And then it's,
exactly. I'm like, come on.
no, he was clearly struggling. I think you could tell that
Yeah.
through the music. I never got huge into them mainly because I didn't like the other guy. I liked Chester
yeah.
Bennington and the screaming stuff.
Oh, you mean the rapper?
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't
his
even know
rap
his name.
is so lame.
I'm sorry.
He's
I don't
always
know.
like, yo, no matter how hard you try, I can't even get by because I'm just a white guy. Like, I just find his rap has
Yeah.
no oomph to it.
Yeah.
He's just so like, yeah. It's
Like
I
the
don't know.
SoundCloud rappers today.
Yeah,
It's like
mumble
blah,
rap
blah,
and all
blah,
that shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't get
For
into it.
sure. But if you'll take a second, I'll tell you, like, in Nova Scotia, the black people came over, like, during the slaves, but we came from, my family, my lineage came from America, the States,
Okay.
through the Underground Railroad.
You mean like the black side of your family?
Yeah, the black
Okay.
side of my family, through the Underground Railroad into Nova Scotia. And a lot of us that have like Africville and stuff, we all have roots from slavery from the States. And we actually had to change our last name so they wouldn't, find us. And but in Nova Scotia, it's kind of still, it's like 50 years behind with like mentality of racial like struggles. But the blacks and the indigenous, they were pushed off to the side. Like, I even have a joke about how the white people took the valley of Truro and they pushed the blacks up on the hill, and that's where my family lived. But when my mom wanted to just party or just be with like other people, she felt like the whites were pushing her away, because there is some racism there. Even when I was younger in Nova Scotia, I was told I can't play with you because I just can't.
Damn.
And yeah, I know.
That's like what, the 90s? Or?
Yeah, exactly. And so my mom used to hang out with the indigenous, and that's how I'm born. That's how I'm here, because the blacks and the indigenous really mingled. There's a huge indigenous black culture. Like, there's lots of us in Nova Scotia and on my reserve.
And if they didn't, I was going to say, even if like for whatever reason the blacks and the indigenous didn't get along, you at least look indigenous. You know what I mean? Because like the black part didn't make you look
funny?
non-indigenous.
When I was younger, I looked I was darker because I was always outside. I kind of had more of Halle Berry look, like that kind of black. And then as I grew up and I get I reached puberty, it was just all like vroom, vroom, vroom. My butt, no. I was just like, oh, I'm half black, but you never know.
You didn't get the booty.
Exactly.
Well, what about, do you have curly hair naturally or no?
It's wavy. I straightened it today, but it just goes in like ringlets, like a wavy ringlet. Like, it's not straight, it's not curly, it's like right in between, almost like Latina kind of.
Okay, cool.
It's nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I honestly think that when you get interracial children, that they're some of the most interesting, cool-looking people. I don't know. It's weird to say people look cool based on their race, I guess, but like...
Well, me and my ex-husband, before I knew I was barren, when we were talking about having kids, he was Japanese and Irish. So I was all like,
that's an interesting
if
combo.
we ever had kids, there would be Japanese, Irish, black, and indigenous. There would be the Prime Minister of Canada in 25 years.
Wow.
Oh, goodness.
That is a weird combo,
I
yeah.
know.
I'm just picturing like a Japanese guy with like bright red hair and freckles.
No. He actually looked indigenous himself.
Oh, cool.
But me and him, we had a falling out, and he's up north still, and
Hence
I'm
the
here living my
ex-husband
life.
part, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you were married. I think you might have told me that.
It was more of a common law marriage, but we had joint bank accounts. Like, both of our names were on the checks.
Essentially, you might as well have been married.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I called him my husband. He called me his wife. And then when I came down in 2013 to get my Indian status card and try to enroll in school, he impregnated his mistress and moved her into our house and then mailed me my stuff.
Wow.
I know.
Douchebag move.
I know.
Oh my God. Can I just ask, they don't officially call it your Indian status card, do they?
Yeah.
Why
I'll
the
show
fuck
you.
haven't they changed the name of that?
They
I was going to say, why do they still use
they're
Indian?
calling
That's
it-
one of the worst.
Instead of Indian affairs, it is now indigenous affairs, but they need to get it on paper.
Wow, that seems way overdue.
Yeah. I have short hair in this one. Yeah.
Like, why, they might as well say, get your Redskin card or whatever, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
so
I know.
old school. That's cool, though.
But that, if I never got that, I don't think I would be in school. I'm 10 years sober from hard drugs, so part of me feels like having this put the dominoes in place for me to have a better life.
Make a major change. Yeah.
It was a positive snowball effect.
I think you told me that when we first met, because you still drink and smoke weed and stuff.
I smoke weed when I'm not in school, so in the summer, and I drink occasionally.
Yeah, okay.
But whiskey, because I'm diabetic. Whiskey is great.
What was your drug of choice back when? Or like whatever goes?
Back in the day, it was ecstasy.
Oh, interesting.
and acid, ecstasy and acid.
Psychedelic.
And, yeah. Like I've done shrooms like 4 or 5 years ago, but the hard stuff it's been a very long time, and I'm happy.
Shrooms are not. They shouldn't be illegal,
no,
in my opinion.
Let's go into Spear Quest. Let's go.
They
in the
should be
woods
moderated. People
with a
should learn
GPS.
how to. People just need to respect them for what they are and not abuse them and not treat them like a party drug.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But hey, I think that's all in good time because they're already doing it in like California and Colorado and places like that where you can buy shrooms now. So.
Yeah. I always prided myself that I never did the big 3 C's, even though they could have been in my ecstasy. It was
What, coke?
I never did coke, crack, crystal meth.
Coke and crack, aren't they kind of in the same family?
Yes and no. Like
I don't know that much about
like
it.
you can do coke and be like, you don't have to do it all the time. But crack, like sometimes you do it once or twice and you're kind of hooked.
I thought crack was like some form of smoking coke, though.
It is.
It is?
But it's
I don't know
different.
the
It's
details.
different. They you
do
change
something to it,
yeah,
yeah.
you do something to it and it's no longer the same compound. Like
Dad, look up how to make crack. I'm sure that won't get flagged.
apparently it's really messy.
I was going to say, yeah, that's interesting about the stuff you're talking about on
Yeah.
the East Coast because I heard something on CBC that was along the same lines that there were still communities of black people that were like really disenfranchised and being sort of shoved into a corner
100%.
and put where, what was it? It was something along the lines of like they were being put somewhere where they were being exposed to like a lot of pollution. They
Yeah.
were right next to like a
Well, they did
tire yard that
yeah.
was burning or something
That's
like that.
exactly. That's what they did to the indigenous. They gave us the swampland. Yeah, and we just actually.
How much you can do with that?
Yeah, we exactly.
Can't plant crops.
I know, and all of our houses are sinking on the reserve, and it's flooding. But
What's up with that? Like, this is something that comes up all the time you hear on CBC with people. The indigenous are always fucked over. But it's like, why doesn't the government see the value of like helping people get on their feet and then, or is it that the indigenous people don't want to integrate?
It's very complex.
Probably a
I don't
mix of
think I
both.
could
Yeah.
explain it in this the short amount of time. However, when the government gives the indigenous money from the trust, from the British trust, from when they took the land and so much paid for it, so that money is just waiting for us to use, but they're giving it like a trust fund, like some trust fund kid, right? So they're giving it to us, but they're giving it to us in little bit amounts, and then they're giving it to people. Like our chiefs and our council has to use it accordingly. And sometimes it's not enough money, sometimes it's too much, and then we're people, right? So like my reserve, I can't remember, maybe 10, 15 years ago had to be audited, just like Apawapiskat had to be audited because the money that was being given from the trust was not being used accordingly.
I was going to say, there's got to be some corrupt chiefs who...
Yeah.
Not the
Why
majority,
does he
maybe,
have
but...
a BMW, but our houses are falling apart,
Yeah,
Like,
that's super fishy.
exactly. And
So why doesn't the government just divvy it up equally or find a different way of doing
well,
it,
that is what's happening right now with the land settlement that just happened through in Shubenacadie and the Millbrook in Nova Scotia. Shubenacadie is my reserve, but it's actually pronounced differently. I just haven't got it
Oh, you haven't mastered how to say it
Yeah, I haven't mastered it.
Crazy.
Yeah, I still call it Shuby. They still call it Shuby, but in Indian Brook, we had a referendum for a 1919 Halifax land claim settlement,
Okay.
and they were like, "Oh, we were going to pay you for this, but we didn't." So
It's only been 100 years.
exactly, and it was right after the explosion of Halifax Harbor when
That was like...
everybody got dispersed, and then the land thing, we're like, oh, they're not thinking about it, so we'll forget about it. And
when was the Halifax explosion?
oh god,
I know it's on my birthday.
we're gonna have to look it up. I can't remember
It's
the exact date.
1916 or something like that?
I would have said 14, but
Yeah.
It's my birthday, though. I know that.
Oh, okay.
My birthday has all these horrible things
Oh
that
my
happened on it. The Halifax explosion, the Montreal massacre,
Mm-hmm.
they're both on my birthday. And I just found out that Rolling Stones concert where the dude died at where all the Hells Angels were there.
Yeah.
They're all December 6th.
It's just like Columbine and 420 and Hitler's birthday.
Yeah. What's up with that? I guess they're just days in
You're
the
not
calendar.
on the far Reich, right? No, I'm just joking. You got no tiki torches in here.
No, fuck no, man.
It's okay.
I'm the least thing from racist. I don't
So-
think. I mean, everyone's inadvertently racist, I think, sometimes. But.
sometimes we're just trying to be facetious.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, so
yes,
with
the land.
settlement,
Yeah,
Stephen Harper promised us $300 each on the reserve for every member, $300 each for the land claim. So when we said now, like, dude.
Like a one-time payment of $300?
Yeah. So recently it was $3,000. And we said yes, because it'll help a lot of people on the reserve. Each person gets this much amount of money. And that usually happens when like De Beers or, oh God, don't kill me, De Beers, or some huge oil company or something is buying the part of the land from indigenous people, and then they just divvy out the money to each person. And then some people get like 9,000, some people get 4,000, like each of that like reserve,
depending on the land and
depending on the land that they are taking.
That's fucked up. Just big business comes in and they have no option but to say yes because they're so poor.
But a good thing about the mines up in Yellowknife, they hire Inuk first. They hire Inuit first.
And they actually are true to that?
Yeah, 100%.
That's cool. That's
when
a nice
I lived
initiative.
up there, I asked a lot of questions because I'm First Nation. They're Inuk, two different. And it's like saying somebody from the Philippines is the same from northern China. Completely different.
Interesting.
Yeah, like people don't know that. They all just lump Inuk, First Nations, and Métis together.
Inuk
or like
is
Mi'kmaq
like
and
Inuit?
Cree. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Inuk. They like to be called by their language.
So, but Inuit is the white man's version of that?
Well, like...
Hey, we stopped saying Eskimo.
I can't say yes or no to that. I don't know. I just know when they referred to themselves when I lived up there, they said we're Inuk. And I'm like, okay.
Sure, yeah. I'll call someone whatever they want to be called for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And people who argue about that, it's like...
Like, I said I was Mi'kmaq or Micmac. And the girl's like, you mean Mi'kmaq? I'm like, okay, I'll be called by my language. It's fine. I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Well,
so
and
I use them interchangeably.
Eskimo was like,
yeah.
yeah.
Do you remember South Park? It's like, I'm the only gay Eskimo. I'm the only one
Vaguely.
that
That was
I
a really
know.
old episode.
That's the only time I was all like, whoa, okay. I'm never going to forget that. And it wasn't South Park who did it. It was a guy on like E-Bombs World who made this video. Do you remember E-Bombs World?
Yes. Yeah?
I
used to play
do you remember
little
Strong
video
Bad and like the Cheat?
I've heard of Strong Bad.
Yeah.
But I more just played games on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. E-Bombs World had a bunch of little like computer games you could just play for free.
But I was thinking like lately I had that thought like, oh, yeah, you couldn't play that video today because you can't even say both
There's
of those
a lot
things.
of stuff that hasn't aged well, yeah.
Yeah, but like, like Eddie Murphy's Delirious. I'll let you know this.
All the homophobic stuff.
When I was young, I watched that when I was a child. Like I watched that when I was like 5, 6 years old, and we would, I got no ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
That was just normal. And then my 13-year-old cousin was hiding in a room from like we had a birthday party or something, and I was like, hey, what you doing? She's like, I just don't want to be around a bunch of grown-ups. I'm like, I feel you. You want to watch a movie or something? Because they were driving me crazy too. So I put on like Eddie. I'm like, oh, have you seen Eddie Murphy's Delirious? And didn't think she's 13 in this day and age, 13, and she's hearing all of the faggot this, fuck that, don't touch this, don't put it in my mouth. I'm like, and then her dad comes in. It's like, yeah, we shouldn't watch that. I'm like, yeah, I'm changing it to Moana. Like,
that's a big shift.
I know, but like Moana's like timeless now. It's like I can watch it 1,000 times. Oh,
I know,
but
I haven't seen a.
No, I'm just joking.
Come on. Yeah, I only went to Frozen because it stars white girls.
Oh yeah, totally.
No, I just don't watch a lot of kids movies, and when I do,
Okay.
I half watch them while the kids are watching them, and then I'm doing something else, so I'll catch like bits of them. But
Yeah.
I haven't seen Inside Out either, and that stars fucking colorful emotions. So.
Oh yeah, I like Inside Out, and it's hilarious in Inside Out because the mother, when you see her things, sadness is driving, and when you see the dad, anger is driving. Of the
you think there's
emotions.
more male road ragers? That's probably true. But are there a lot of sad women drivers that are like crying while they?
No, driving the inside the brain emotions.
Okay,
sorry.
I have not
you've never seen the
movie.
So they have the emotions: sadness, disgust, happiness.
Yeah, I knew that. I don't know why I
then-
didn't put that together.
Whatever.
I thought there might have been a scene where the emotions were driving a car. Also, I don't know.
Nah.
Okay, so they're saying that women are primarily sad and men are angry.
I think that was the inside joke. Like we don't have to read too.
It's a
far into
light
it.
kind of. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Rick and Morty. They have jokes like don't think too deep
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're gonna rack your brain.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, fucking Rick and Morty's so good.
I love Rick and Morty.
I haven't seen the
obsessed
new
with it.
ones yet since they came
I've
back.
been buying them off of Google Play. Buy Google Play Rick and Morty for $1.99.
What, per episode?
Yeah, per
That's not that
episode.
bad.
I'm like, for $2, I'll buy Rick and Morty per episode. For $2, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's nice to just have that, like, you know, a good quality video. You don't have to
100%.
search around.
Yeah, I get the SD one. Like the HD one is $2.99, but I get the SD one because when I don't
Who gives a
care.
shit?
I'm
It's
like,
cartoons.
I'm not care about like having like a 1040 whatever it's called or like
1080p or whatever.
1080p or whatever. Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't like. I want to watch.
Well,
my
and
cartoons.
certainly not for an animated show. It seems like really like the one time where you don't need HD. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, look at that line work. You know, do you want to see the pencil marks where they drew the fucker? I don't know.
That's hilarious.
So I was going to talk to you about, you
One
said
second.
1917 for the
1917, the Halifax
okay.
explosion. Okay, so I was pretty close. Yeah, you on your video that you sent me, there was like a different name for Halifax, like the original name, I would assume then, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Can I see?
I didn't write it down
you
here.
didn't
I was
write it
hoping
down?
you'd. Oh, you don't remember it? I wrote down Bear Clan too because I thought that was cool that you're
Yeah,
part
there's
of the Bear
a
Clan.
different name for Halifax, a different name for Truro.
They seemed like complicated names in your defense.
They are.
were
I've been
really-
practicing them, but like even my Mi'kmaq is very like low. Like
What can you say in Mi'kmaq?
I can go quay.
What does that mean?
Hello.
Oh, well, there you go. I could do that.
Yeah, just quay.
Quay?
Yeah, and
how low?
dopati. Just because one of my jokes is I have to have a sense of humor because I come from a place where the Mi'kmaq word for window is plywood.
Yeah, I actually wrote that down because
Yeah.
I thought it was a hilarious. Look, plywood joke right here.
And then
That's
I
awesome.
had to figure out what is the word for window, and it's like dopati. And I'm like, okay, I have to know the word, the
Yeah.
actual word, so if someone asks. And I want to reintegrate my native language in him, but I'm waiting until I'm done college, and then when I'm moving back home to Shubenacadie when I'm done. But I will be back and forth from Ottawa and Shuby.
Where is that place?
Shubenacadie, Nova Scotia.
Oh, okay, in Nova Scotia.
Yeah,
okay.
my reserve in Nova Scotia, and then I'll be back and forth through Ottawa because I have to maintain my massage therapy license when I.
That's pretty far commute.
Oh no, it's like an hour and a half on a plane.
Oh, okay, on a plane, yeah.
And,
But
I'll-
doesn't that get pricey after a while if you're going? How often are you going to go back and forth?
Like once a year.
Oh,
Like
okay,
I'm going to
okay.
stay in Nova Scotia for 3 to 4 months of the year, or 3 to 4 months of the year, and then I'm going to come back in Ottawa. And
Oh, so you'll be here a lot still.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, 'cause
exactly.
I was
I
going to
just-
say, that would suck if you were bailing.
no. I still want to further my comedy career, and this is like the
Better than Nova Scotia, probably.
well, the Halifax, they have their own like comedy scene.
I would
there.
assume any major metropolitan scene has some Facebook groups and stuff and places you can go to.
Well, they have the Halifax Comedy Festival. in
Oh,
Halifax.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, where's the Ottawa Comedy Festival?
True,
You know what I
true.
mean?
I don't know my East Coast comedy shit.
That's where Jerry Hodges is from.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Jerry Hodges.
Yeah.
I only met him a couple times. Seems like
yeah. He's been doing comedy for 15 years.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. And I found out he's my cousin.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
on the
kinda
black
random.
side. I know.
When did you find that out?
When I brought my aunt to a show and Jerry was there, and then Jerry and my aunt started talking, and she started like quizzing him on his lineage,
His roots or
yeah,
whatever.
and we found out we were actual distant
That's
cousins.
insane.
Yeah.
What are the chances,
I
man?
know.
That's what?
Don't think worse of me because no, I'm just joking. Just joking.
No, why would I think worse of you?
I don't
Oh,
know.
because of Jerry?
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know him that well. He's always been a nice guy to me.
Yeah,
He's very focused, I'll say. When
he's
I've
very
seen
nice
him
guy. He's very blunt.
in the green room, he's always got like headphones in, and I always thought he was like
He's
rapping
always
or
like
something.
shadow boxing. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's go.
He takes it very intense.
Yeah,
but,
100%.
I saw him do a set once, and I thought he was really funny. So
Yeah. He's been getting really good.
yeah, he grinds. He gets out
he's
there a lot. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Oh, God. You know what I told myself? Don't do what Kevin Hart did on Joe Rogan and say 100% after every freaking thing you agree about.
I've caught myself doing that too. But you know what? I watch other podcasts and everybody's doing it. So there's a lot of
100%.
people that are being affected by Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
The last thing I want to talk just about your roots and
Sure.
all that is the Bear Clan. I thought was really cool, and
Yeah,
the fact that
Mooin.
they what is it?
Mooin.
Mooin?
Mooin.
Wouldn't it be the
Bear
Cow
Clan.
Clan?
Moo. Oh!
Oh, that's such a lame joke.
I am going to scalp him for the honor of my people.
Yeah. So Bear Clan, like, how do they pick that? Like, it's just probably hundreds of years ago. You just happen to fall into that.
It's the family's last name, and it just goes from generations from that.
Oh, so it's just one family?
Yeah, one family.
I thought it was like a community of like a tribe of Bear Clan.
No.
Or not a tribe. That's
Well, we're all Mi'kmaq, like not every single one from the East Coast, but that's our.
I just didn't think it would be
and then
specific
Bear
to a
Clan
family.
Yeah, a family. Well, you guys, freaking Scots got freaking clans. You got shields.
That's true, but I just feel like Bear would have been a really popular one, and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys took Bear."
There's actually the Knockwoods. Brian Knockwood's a good friend of mine. He actually did the honor song during that video.
Okay.
He's also Bear
yeah.
Clan.
Oh, okay. So you can have more than
Yeah.
one then. Okay, fair enough. And you could be like Polar Bear Clan or like specify.
I don't know.
Black
I
Bear
never
Clan.
heard about a polar bear.
Koala Bear Clan.
It's like Ant Clan. Or I'm just joking.
And they gave you a special name too. You said.
Oh yes, when I was up in Kirkland Lake, the Temiskaming First Nation, they came over and were giving ceremony, and I was asked. I was asked if I would like to participate in the ceremony. And I was like, yes, because I was down on my luck. I was homeless at the time. I've been homeless a handful of times in my life. This is after my ex-husband because he kicked me out.
Yeah, in a total dickhead way. Oh, my God.
So I was homeless and he made sure that I was like 100% committed, like financially dependent on him. It was like a control issue.
Damn.
But
so when you were homeless, you were still using hard drugs then or no?
No, I wasn't. I
Okay.
was off of them, but
That must have been tempting to get back in.
yeah, but I was away from everybody that I knew who did it.
Okay,
Up
so
in
you didn't have a
Kirkland Lake.
connection.
Yeah, I didn't have a connection, nor did I have it. I was too busy crying. Okay, but they were like, "Oh, you need to have this ceremony and blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Yeah, 100%." And then the healer, he brings me into this room, and he has his partner healer with him too. And they did the ceremony, and this is when they told me that because I am barren, watch out for people who might try to use me to raise all their children. And I got the spirit name First Rays of the Sun Woman, because that's how when he went into his trance, for lack of a better word,
Shaman sort of thing,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
that's what he saw. He saw the sun rising. He saw the rays of the sun, and he saw that.
It's a pretty cool name as far as
thank
nicknames
you.
go.
I know.
It's not like Poop of the Deer or something like that.
Poop
you know?
of the deer. Short leg woman. No, it was first, and I interpreted that as every day is a new day because I needed it at that time to live day by day and not dwell on the past and look forward to the future. And
You think that helped you move
Yeah.
into a new direction? Yeah.
also, I got into a lot of soul searching of the human condition and seeing like what, because I've been in therapy my whole life, from like anger management therapy to childhood trauma therapy to right now somatic therapy, why I'm so reactionary to things. And I thought
That's partially society is making us all like that,
exactly.
I think. Yeah.
Like when you said you had a dash of anxiety, I'm like, yeah, I feel you, bud.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like figure out, like stay within that moment and dissect it and see where it's coming from so I can be more wary of other people, like, because I hate using this word triggers, and there's triggers out there and you're like, oh shit, I am frightened of angry women. I wonder why that is.
Oh, I see. I guess you
know?
had a crazy mom or something? Or?
I wouldn't call her crazy. I would just say she's
Feisty? Is that a nice way?
feisty, strong, opinionated.
Okay.
But where the hell do I get it from? You know, she might be going through her own thing, but that's how it is. Like, we grew up very close in age to each other, so you and your mom, you mean?
Oh,
Yeah, like
interesting.
she's like only 15 years difference.
Oh, wow.
So it's like she's like a big sister and a mother at the same time. So like a part
It's
of
got to be a different dynamic for
it
sure.
is, because you want to listen to her, but you're all like, you're borrowing my sweater all
You're
the
like,
time.
you don't have that
know?
much more life experience than me.
a little. It's a tiny bit like that.
That's hilarious.
I love you, Mom. Don't hurt me. Just
Wow. Yeah, that's so different. That would be that's almost the opposite of what we were talking about with people who have really old parents. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
there's a sweet spot in there.
There's a
that's
sweet
kinda
spot.
Like,
Make sure you're 20 years older from your kids at least.
no, all families are beautiful.
Yes, all
but
families
they
are
present different challenges
Yeah,
and different.
and it's a respect thing too, because like, well, how she grew up and her parents, how they raised her, and the flow off onto me. But you're supposed to raise kids in the society and the world they are in now, not from back then, how your parents raised you.
Yeah, because that's just gonna
Exactly.
dragged in your kids and put them kind of behind everything.
Yeah,
It's not
and
really-
it's a full circle, right? You're just repeating the same family trauma if you do that, as I have read.
No, for sure. There's
So
lots of
it's
stuff that happens, I think, that gets
Yeah.
passed from parent to child, bad behavior and stuff like that. You got to have someone eventually who tries to break the chain,
Yeah.
you know, and make us strong.
Everyone in my family at 40 loses their teeth, but not me. I'm brushing, flossing, Listerine.
Damn, they just
Yeah.
didn't get the proper dental work, I'm guessing, or
Yeah, and they didn't have insurance, or they didn't floss and stuff.
Well, taking
and-
care of your teeth in the first place is
Yeah,
clearly the
see,
best
I
way to go.
really-
Yeah.
I pride myself on my smile. I think that's the part of my manipulation technique to get people to like me.
You got a good smile. I'm not going to deny that. When you were talking about the trance and the whole ceremony, one thing that I actually wanted to ask you about was in Canadian indigenous culture, do they have similarly like drug experiences? Because I know in like the States, they use like peyote and stuff.
Oh, and ayahuasca and all that.
That's like
beautiful
South
stuff.
America and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah.
even in the States, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever, or not Indians, indigenous people are in that area of like New Mexico
Yeah.
and I'm not sure, Apache maybe or
yeah,
Navajo.
Navajo.
There you go.
yeah.
But do we have
To
that up
each
in,
their own.
in Canada?
Like, I personally haven't had an experience with that.
You haven't heard of it though?
No, I just see it on TV and in movies, unfortunately. But we smudge. We have medicines. We have sage. We have sweetgrass. We have bear root. We have sweat lodge, and then
Sweat lodge can have
people
effects, yeah.
do some mild hallucinogens or microdose in sweat lodges, so they can be like closer to the creator and hear what he has to say. So
When you're saying microdose though, like the same type of stuff that, you know, like someone not from that
yes,
way of life could
like
get access.
shrooms.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
like shrooms.
I was wondering if there was any
you
specific
don't
like
microdose ecstasy. Who are you?
No, I meant rather that there would be
know,
like a
just messing with
cool some kind of cool drug that's less known because it sort of belongs to their culture in the way that like not everybody does peyote.
I
You know what I
think
mean?
it was
Like,
peyote, and then everybody heard it. You know, like
well, that's a cactus though. That's why they do it down there.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a mushroom out there, the Mario mushroom.
Oh, the red one with the
Yes,
spots. Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually found it in Yellowknife on a trail. I found that mushroom.
You gotta be careful.
And it's a hallucinogen. I didn't pick it. I'm
Yeah.
not dumb. I didn't pick it. And I'm like, okay. Oh, so it grows up here. And then I found out they use that in ceremony, but just mildly because it's so strong.
Yeah.
But when we went hiking another day, I saw the same one, but it was eaten. Like
Maybe an
little
animal, though.
tiny fox bites. And I'm like, there's
Some
fucking
foxes tripping balls.
foxes tripping balls up here. But we had our guns at that time, so I wasn't too scared. But like fox on fucking like.
I was gonna say you've never seen a fox on shrooms. I don't know that anyone
yeah,
has.
exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah, those mushrooms are supposed to be some of the most powerful ones
Yeah.
out there. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I
thank
saw it on
you.
one of the Rogan episodes with the
Words.
mushroom dude,
Yeah.
Paul Stamets, and I could not
Yeah.
remember the.
I'm obsessed with Joe Rogan. I literally watch him all the time.
Sorry, what was it again? Amanita muscaria.
Yeah.
Yeah, so podcast fans might already be familiar with that, but that's cool that you found one in the wild.
Yeah.
The only thing, like you see a lot of people that do foraging and stuff like that, and the thing that scares me is I always think of that movie Into the Wild. Have you ever seen that?
Yes.
Emil Hirsch, and he's like, it's based on a true story, but this
Yeah.
guy goes to Alaska or whatever, and he eventually has his little book that tells him what he can or cannot eat, and he mixes something up, and that's how he fucking dies. He eats
Yeah.
like a flower or something that.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd be scared. Like, even if you thought it was that mushroom, what if it's the very similar cousin to that mushroom that you
Exactly.
didn't know about, and this one kills you?
I find I would be a hunter-gatherer myself if the world ended, and I'm like I would just be hunting a lot of game.
If the world went post-apocalyptic,
fishing.
I would stop being vegetarian.
Yeah, I'd be fishing
Sorry,
a
guys.
lot. Oh, I forgot you're a vegetarian. I'm sorry.
I eat fish sometimes. I'm not like,
okay.
it's not, I don't know. I don't really know why I do it. It's somewhat of an ethical thing, but it's also
Yeah.
just anxiety thing. When I eat meat, I'm very, like, I think about it, like, ugh.
There's this saying that goes around. You know what we call a native guy? Sorry, 1 second. I have to remember. Do you know what we call a vegetarian? Like a white person who can't hunt, you know, stuff like that.
I'm actually good at archery, so I think I'd be
Okay,
all right.
okay.
I don't know how to skin an animal or anything like that. But
I forgot to mention when I was younger, how I got into comedy. I totally forgot. I was like, oh, I can't forget to tell him this. Because when I was younger, I was watching a lot of Richard Pryor And
Legend.
yes, Richard Pryor, Bill Hicks, George Carlin is one of my biggest favorites.
George Carlin's such a good comic.
I really want to be able to rant like him. Like, I find Trevor Thompson kind of rants like him a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to get to your level. But
Trevor's awesome,
yeah. And when I was younger, I was obsessed with Just for Laughs on Comedy Central. Obsessed. So what I would do was I would go out with my babysitting money and buy blank VHSs. Just like hundreds of them. And when Just for Laughs was on, I would record every single Just for Laughs, and I would watch it over and over.
To have an archive.
Like Richard Jenny, Kenny Robinson, Daryl Frost. I watched every single one. Darren Frost. I watched every single one. Like even John Wayne. John Wayne was a big one. And if I ran out of VHSs, I would take my Disney DVD of like Beauty and the Beast, and I would take that little square out the back, because if you took the square out the back of DVD, you could record over it.
Really?
I would record over Disney movies just so I could record Just for
What
Laughs.
little square?
If you have a VHS, I could show you, but
Sorry, you said DVD though.
I said DVD?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I could have
VHS.
sworn you just said DVD. No, you said VHS originally.
Oh yeah,
but
sorry. The square
when you
off the
switched
DVD.
to Disney, yeah.
Sorry, it's a.
I still didn't know that about VHS.
Yeah, VHS on the opposite side of where the tape would be, there was a little plastic square that can be removed, and that plastic square was there so people couldn't tape it, but you could just like pop it off and then tape over something.
So as soon as The Secret was out, everybody just started abusing that.
Oh, 100%. And I was 98%. I loved watching, and I would carry them everywhere. Like we moved a lot because we were downtrodden when I was younger. So I would carry them everywhere I went, and then they got lost in a move. But it was always in my head, like regurgitating like Richard Jenny jokes and George Carlin.
Yeah, he offed himself too. That's a bummer.
I know. You know what? I understand. I 100% do.
There's a lot of disturbed comics for sure. Yeah.
We are all disturbed in a way. Like tragedy and comedy go hand in hand, and
attention seekers to some degree, if we're
Exactly. I think a lot of people in my family would think that of me, that Janelle, she didn't get a lot of attention when she was growing up, so of course she's like,
look at me.
Yeah, because I was the loner, reclusive, don't look at me, very shy, and then all of a sudden Janelle's just like out in the world,
coming out of her shell.
Yeah. I just thought when I grew up, when I finally become a comedian, it's just gonna explode, and it did.
Yeah,
everything
honestly,
I touch
nonstop.
explodes, and it's a miracle. It's amazing.
Yeah, you've been nonstop this whole year. Mm-hmm. And as to the Just for Laughs thing, I was going to say, I honestly wonder how many local comics or even Canadian comics were majorly affected by Just for Laughs. Because I didn't record them, but I had the same experience. Like waking up, it would be like getting ready for school, eating cereal and watching whoever was on, Mm-hmm. I used to love George Wallace,
Yes.
So
oh my God.
He's one of my favorite like clean comics because he never really swears or anything. He's like your grandpa or something.
The king of clean comedy today would be John Mulaney, and he has such a timeless act. And I'm like, man, I just want to get to your level too. I'm like,
I'm not going to say I don't like him, but I find him somewhat irritating.
Yeah.
I think he has good material, and obviously he's a better comic than me. I'm not trying to be like, oh, fuck John Mulaney. No, it's
one's
just
better or worse than anybody.
I find him just a little bit his shtick or his vibe just a little bit like irritating. I don't know.
Hey,
just
I
nasally
felt the same
and
way.
like
I felt the same way when I was watching Napoleon, not Napoleon, Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, John Hader.
Yeah, it was Napoleon Dynamite. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I would try not to say Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah, that movie divided people for sure.
Yeah, because I hated it at the beginning. I'm like, oh, why is he acting so dumb?
And it grows on you.
And then I'm so like, wait, this is fucking hilarious. And it takes a while.
It does.
It does. And,
I still don't know how I feel about the movie, but the dance scene is insanely cool. That's one of my favorites.
I grew up in a town that was like that. Like it was caught in the 80s and the 90s,
Yeah.
It was like everybody was like that. The way people like talk to each other, like how the uncle's always trying to pull a job, trying to sell things, and I'm like I've been there.
Man,
yeah, because in Nova Scotia there's lots of those. There's lots of people trying
Shiesty
because it's a retirement province right now, and they're all trying to take advantage of the older population, and that's why there's all these little jobs. I know.
What's wrong with people?
People.
It's like you never had a grandma or something. If you can do that to an old lady or man, take advantage of people when they're in the worst. I met this guy once when I was, I don't know, I want to say like late teens, early 20s. One of the times when I was first living on my own, and I lived in Jasmine, which is not the greatest.
I know Jasmine
not the greatest.
I
area.
went to Gloucester High, so.
Yeah, I started chilling with this guy mainly because I wanted to buy weed off him because you couldn't buy it. Well, I was probably old enough to buy it if they would have had legal back then, but we didn't have that option. So I hung out with him, but I could tell right away he was kind of a sketchy dude. And a lot of his friends that he hung out with were kind of not really gangbangers, but like they could be there in a few months, you know?
Yeah.
And the one dude, I actually thought he was pretty cool. I smoked a couple joints with him, hung out, and he eventually told me and was like super proud that he jumped or like jacked some old lady's purse. And he was like laughing about it. And I was like, "Okay, now I can't ever hang out with you again. What the fuck?"
It's like what the Oprah says. It's all like when people show you their true colors, believe them. In that,
it made me go like, "Oh, you're like laughing about this
Yeah.
too? Like it's not just saying like, oh, I did this to get by, which would already be fucked up.
Yeah.
But you're like, he was laughing about how he like
No
pushed
remorse.
her too, and like I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And how did I not smell this
How
shit
old
on?
was he?
The guy was probably like 20,
Oh,
19,
fuck.
20, something
His
like that.
frontal lobe was like at 85%.
Yeah,
he
but
still
he's probably
had the
been
right and wrong,
huffing
yeah.
glue since he was
Yeah.
8, if I remember this guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't exactly like
Oh, you do have a Rick and
batting
Morty
high
poster.
on it.
That's awesome. I haven't noticed that yet.
And Gonzo too. I love
That's
that
awesome.
Gonzo. Sorry, this is way going back to something we were
No,
talking
it's
about.
okay.
But
That's how the world works.
Fucking, we were talking about if there was like a post-apocalyptic.
Yes.
I would love to know how many vegans would
Die
switch to meat
instantly?
and how many would just be like, hunger strike, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
come
well,
on.
I think they would be following the meat eaters, complaining the whole time, while sneaking the meat.
Just I found a few berries over here and they're pretty delicious now.
While they already had their fair, like,
Like-
someone else's share of the ration. That's how they're surviving, but they're still complaining the whole time because sometimes that's all they want to do. Is
Or
complain.
they would eat the meat secretly at night when everyone was
oh
sleeping.
my god, something just came into my head. I had we just had a roommate who just left, and she was vegan when she moved in, but then she said she was vegetarian, and she refused. She told us we're not allowed to have any meat in our freezer, and she took the whole freezer with all of her pre-cooked food from her mother. And
Filled it- oh,
and
it's
filled
just-
it to the rim with her food that
Just
was all
kale and-
vegetarian, and we couldn't have meat in the fridge. The freezer. And I put Eggos in there, and she took the Eggos and put it in the freezer downstairs. I'm like, come on, they're Eggos.
Okay, wait a minute though. If she's vegetarian, why does she care about? Like usually, it's only vegans
She
that are
wouldn't
that strict,
use,
you know.
the same dish thing.
Pans and stuff,
no pans, not the same cleaning things because it had like and if we cooked bacon and left it on the counter so because the mother and the daughter live there, so the mother
scream.
cooks bacon and she leaves it for her daughter, she would scream. She would be like, can you move this so I can cook, please? And it's like, oh my god, it's on a plate, you can move the plate. And she's like, I don't want to touch that dead animal, kind of like, she didn't say that loud, but it was that kind of thing. I was like,
I kind of get it.
and
Like,
she would scream every time a cat walked by. Like a cat would come out of
This is
nowhere
unrelated.
and she would scream like at the top of her lungs. It could have been 6 a.m. It could have been 4 a.m. She would scream at the top of her lungs. And she knew we had a cat when she
dude,
moved
imagine
in.
how much she would have screamed if you guys cooked the cat.
I know. it was crazy, but living with someone who's vegetarian, and also my old roommate who was Russian, she also tried to go vegan for a time, but she was getting like the flu, the vegan flu,
She was getting not enough B12
yeah,
probably.
yeah, and then she
gotta
was
eat
getting
a lot of
sick, and then
peppers
she
and-
started eating meat again, which is good because she had a baby, and the baby needs to eat meat too. So because people like to put their beliefs on their children.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, like that kid a steak.
I kind of fall in between. Like the example you were giving was pretty extreme, even I consider. And again, I'm not vegan, I'm vegetarian. But I don't like I won't cook if say someone cooked bacon. I'm not just gonna throw my eggs and cook in the same pan. I'll wash it out first. But I'm not the kind of person who's be like, if this has ever had meat in it, I can never use it again.
Yeah.
That's beyond insane
I know.
to me.
Not
So-
everyone's like that. People are individuals, so I can't like all vegans or all of it. Nah.
There is a bit of a shift, though. I'm not
Mm.
gonna lie. I feel like I have an interesting perspective only because I'm in the limbo zone,
Yeah.
and I do think a lot of vegans are kind of too extreme. But as far as not eating meat, like it's been a mental shift
Yeah.
where like now if I smell like lunch meat and shit, it smells like farty to me.
Yeah.
And it's just-
all
I-
the sodium, it's all the processed
Maybe not just lunch meat, but any meat, like
Yeah.
turkey dinner. It has like this weird smell to me because I don't eat meat anymore. And
But
fish.
I bet you if you ate it, your body would be all like, yeah, more. It's like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who are gluten free and then have a piece of bread
Pizza or
that
something,
are
yeah.
not celiac, by the way. They're not celiac. They would like they
We
feel
call them
great.
bandwagoners. No, but
But like, do you know about Jordan Peterson going on the carnivore diet?
yes, and his daughter as well, Michaela. Yeah.
And they're like healthier than they've ever been.
I have my apprehensions about that in another way, but yeah.
because like you are missing some micronutrients.
I could believe that having a mainly
Yeah.
carnivorous diet could be good for you, but the idea of cutting out vegetables just seems like stupid to me because we know there's lots of benefits in spinach and Brussels sprouts and all the really dark greens have lots of good iron amongst other things.
Yeah.
Peppers are full of B12. You know, it just seems dumb to cut out.
Vitamin K.
Mushrooms have a lot of
potassium.
good things for you too. Like, but as far as meat heavy, I don't know. I could see it working.
I find I need to go on something, not a keto diet, but I need to cut a lot of starches out of my diet. Like
hard.
I am diabetic. I'm type 2,
Okay.
but I'm on the cusp, but I'm like just like above pre-diabetic now. So I am type 2. And my eating habits, I'm always out at comedy clubs, eating burger, eating this,
Beers,
eating that.
too.
I that's why I stick to whiskey because it doesn't raise your sugar levels. And
Oh, really?
when your body has too much sugar, your liver stores it as glycogen, and then your insulin can store that as fat. So it's like,
Yeah, my weaknesses are beer
am I
and
right?
pizza.
Am I wrong?
No, you're correct. The starch converts to triglycerides.
Yeah,
which
starts.
still-
Okay.
Starch converts to triglycerides, guys. You're learning it here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my biggest sort of foil is alcohol, like with beer specifically, and pizza.
Yeah.
But that's why one of the reasons I got into doing intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
just so that I could keep indulging in those things.
I
and
wish I
not
could do it. I go full rage machine if I
Dude,
don't eat.
Try it. Honestly, like try to power through once
Yeah.
and do like, they say you go into ketosis.
Do you drink
at-
water?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And I've actually started putting salt in sometimes. I learned that from that Michaela
Like for
Peterson.
electrolytes?
Yeah. Like Himalayan salt
Yeah.
or whatever is all I have. But I'll drink water and black coffee
Okay.
for caffeine, especially if I'm going to go to the gym at the
Yeah.
end of a fast. But they say around 18 hours, your body's supposed to go into a state of ketosis
Yeah.
and start
Breaking
like hyper
down.
metabolizing.
Yeah,
and
breaking down all that stored glycogen and then the fats. Okay. Wow.
with the added bonus being that when you do break your fast, if
Yeah.
you're in ketosis, whatever you do eat will be like way more efficiently metabolized because you're in such a like churning. Like,
yeah.
You're just ready to go.
I used to go to the gym a lot last year before, content heavy and like workload. I used to go to the gym, and every time I went to the gym, I would go home and I would just want vegetables and meat, and then I was just like,
That's when you should eat after a workout
exactly.
for sure.
And I've never felt so like driven to eat healthier than after I've had a workout.
And you don't feel as bad while you're eating because you're
Exactly.
just like, you feel this pit where you're like throwing fuel into the fire
Exactly.
or whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I've done my own research and I know what works for me. But the metaphors that I heard that really sort of broke it down and made sense to me, and then I tried and they were effective, was like the caveman sort of approach that, like, if you think of men or women or whatever humans back in the day, we would presumably be pretty fit. I'm just going to assume.
Yeah.
But the reason would be that they would be forced to fast sometimes for a couple of days, maybe foraging berries or whatever they could find. And then when they would find something to eat, that would be when they would have to exert the most energy to hunt and kill this animal, even though they're running on fumes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll do fasts for, 20 to 24 hours. And then if I can manage, go to the gym while still fasting. And then right after you've killed the animal, done the hunt, then go home and eat, break the fast with a massive meal, which is equatable to eating the beast or whatever, even though I'm not eating meat,
You're like reverting
Tuna
to
maybe,
your old eugenics.
Yeah, it makes
the way
sense. At least
you're-
when I break it down, I was like, okay, that sounds like plausible. And then I tried it, and it got
Are
me
you
good
at
results.
your goal weight right now?
My goal weight.
I know every man has a goal weight. They want to
don't
be at
really.
this weight. Like they don't want to be chubby. They want to have some muscle, but they also want to be at a weight.
Ever since I've been fasting and going to the gym a few times a week, I haven't felt the need to check because when I would check the scale, I was literally always within the same 5-pound window. So
I've been I know women don't usually say this so loud, but I've been 180 pounds for 5 years.
just consistent.
Consistently. Even when I
is-
was going to the gym all the time. It was just
Really?
like, okay, I guess this is but you know what? I didn't change my diet. I stayed on the
huge.
same diet. So I think if I changed my diet, I could get down to 170, 160.
And if you can manage fasting, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, a lot of people think that they're going to get really tired, but I've found as long as you stay hydrated, you actually get crazy energized. Like when you get to 20 hours, you're like, you get over this hump and then you're like, oh, fuck, I could fast for another fucking 12 hours now.
Yeah.
Once you get past the hard part,
You don't get headaches?
Every once in a while, and I think that's usually more related to dehydration
Yeah.
than it is a lack of
Yeah.
food. But yeah, I've had really great fasts. 24 hours is like the most I usually go.
I
I did
should
it.
definitely try to do that. But again, I'm
You
on
get
my
results,
my
man.
diabetes medication, and I have to take it with food. So
That's what I was going to say. It makes things a little more
It
complicated.
does, but if I don't if I stop my meal at 4 p.m., stop eating at 4 p.m. and then
It's once a day you have to take the medication?
twice a day. So if I if I stop eating at 4 p.m. and I go to sleep and I wake up and then I don't eat until 11.
Yeah, something yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, you could make it work.
Because
Yeah.
that's what Joe Rogan does. He says he does his half of his fast in his sleep.
It's definitely a way to cheat. Well, not cheat, but like no. It feels
Joe
like a
Rogan
cheat.
is saying, calling you a cheater.
No, it feels like a cheat when you do it, is all I'm saying. You feel like you're getting it.
It's a good way to cheat.
You know what's hard about that, though? Going to bed hungry is fucking hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's because I sleep like a baby if I got a full belly.
Yeah.
But if you can pull it off, it's just be like, no, just fucking go to bed. Don't eat that one thing that you're like.
Would green tea or anything like that be a problem when you're fasting?
So for when I've looked into stuff like that, generally speaking, they say that most of the time, if you're just trying to do a basic sort of a fast and get some sort of results,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter.
Because you said black coffee, and I'm all I would take green tea for my caffeine.
Well, I even heard that you could put milk in your coffee, and it's not.
Weird.
It will technically break a fast,
Yeah.
but it's not going to do
Because
anything.
it has lactose. It has all the...
But the caloric intake is not huge. Like, I don't know. That's what I
Yeah.
read. Is it's not like game-breakingly bad. You shouldn't be like, oh, well, I put milk in my coffee by accident, so fuck this fast, and then eat a bunch of stuff.
I'm sorry to change the subject on you,
go
but
ahead.
do you want to talk about how Don't Fret and Stringing You Along happened?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how we got to know each other better.
100%.
And that other show just happened. So, yeah.
So it was a dark and stormy night. I was at the Wellington Eatery down in Hinterberg area, and it was first time I've ever seen Oliver perform with his guitar. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. He's hilarious.
Thank you.
Even though you don't believe you did great that night, I believe you freaking knocked it out of the park.
I only did songs that night, I think.
It's a hard room to get people to laugh at. It's well, back then when there was no music playing before before comics came up.
Yeah, this was a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It's Tash freaking any tiny little thing
He tweaked it a bit,
yeah,
yeah.
100%. It's a rockin' room right now. And when you were up there and I'm like, part of me was just the light bulb clicked in. I'm like, why isn't there a whole show just of comedians doing songs, funny songs, like Bo Burnham or Tim Minchin, is it Tim or Tom Minchin?
No, it's Tim.
It's okay,
Tim
good.
Minchin,
Tim Minchin. I second guess myself sometimes. I'm dyslexic, so my brain doesn't.
No, for sure.
Okay, so yeah, with Tim, I'm like, why don't we have that? And so I looked around, seeing if we did, because I didn't want to rip anybody off.
Yeah, that's a good call.
And no one did, and so I'm like, okay. And then I'm pacing my room, talking to my boyfriend on the phone, on speaker. I'm like, what can I call this? What is the name? And we're just shooting things back to each other. And I'm like, oh, I'm stringing you along. And he's like, what? I'm like, no, not you.
That's actually, it was a really good name.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, stringing you along. And it's like, okay, we'll take that and we'll put it on there and we'll just do it. Because my big thing is don't think too hard about it, just do it. You can think of the name. You can I make a lot of posters for people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just look at the color scheme of what they're wearing or the hue. And
Those
then
posters look really nice,
Thank
actually.
you. And I
Yeah.
just throw it together with Canva because they have a free service.
Oh,
and,
nice.
Yeah, and sometimes a little Photoshop.
You look good.
No, thank you. And then I have my second show, and I don't know when the third show is going to be. I'm really busy with school right now, and I have the Got Land show. So I think maybe in the summer we'll do a
Yeah, I thought it was going to be in November or something.
It
and then
was.
We did ours instead.
Yeah,
then,
but no, that's fine. I'm happy. And then from that, you guys branched off into Don't Fret, which I'm happy because you came up to me and you both asked me if you could do it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Just one stipulation, just one thing. Do not take my name. And then go ahead. Go.
Oh, no, yeah. We knew
that
that
was
from
the
the
only
beginning.
thing I cared about. Do not take my name. And then
We just didn't want to. I don't know. We didn't
Cut
want
my
to not
grass?
tell you.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
like
don't cut
I
my
was
grass.
not going to do that show without at first running it by
yeah.
you and being like,
No,
hey,
it's
we're
fine.
kind of like transplanting this idea that you did.
Thank you so
and-
much for asking too, because like a part of me might have felt a little.
Exactly.
you
We
know,
didn't want to
after,
burn
like-
you at all.
Yeah,
and we were glad
exactly.
you came and everything. It
Yeah,
was a good show.
I made sure I came. Made sure to bring Chris too, because Chris was a big part of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You
yeah.
can always tell when Chris is in the audience.
Oh God.
Someone's letting air out of a balloon.
Yeah, who's that woman in the back? Who's the dolphin? God.
And
you know he does
Spence
that.
Charles has a crazy
Yeah.
laugh too.
You know Chris does that laugh in bed, right? I'm just joking.
That's his O face.
Oh yeah, that is his O
getting the
sound.
real
That's
dirt
his O
here.
sound.
You know, it's a little funny behind the scenes thing for Don't Fret when we were all trying to decide like what to call it, and it was originally going to be called Four Guys with G Strings or something like that. But then there was one thing that I wish made the poster, and Chris nixed it because he said that the breweries had already complained on the last thing about some sort of vulgarity. But it was supposed to say an epic night of musical comedy and an epic night of comedy and musical fingering or something like that. It was supposed to be
Nice.
like a
Nice.
guitar
Yeah,
reference, but yeah, it got ruled
Yeah,
out.
because he's dealing with something that like he has no control over.
He's dealing with the corporate side
yeah,
of
the
things.
corporate
yeah.
side. Like with comedy at Eddie's, my twin sister's the manager.
Yeah.
But she's not the owner, so she has to talk to the owner about stuff. I just have
And
to
she's
talk
like
to
a
my
cook
twin.
back there, too,
Yeah,
right?
she's the kitchen manager.
makes all the
and the
badass food.
manager. Yeah, she's a server now.
Like, honestly, go to one of these shows, guys, because
Eddie's
it's cozy,
Diner.
it's fucking
Yeah.
delicious. They've got these sick milkshakes with booze in them.
Yeah, Eddie's Diner is at 7.
Yeah, there we go. Another
7
plug.
Bank Street and the Gleb, and yeah.
While we're at it, actually, I'm going to plug something
only
real quick.
$5. Sorry.
We've got, I just found out I'm doing a thing on the 21st.
Oh, yeah?
We're doing Lorenzo Patino and Mike Timofey.
Yes!
They're doing like, they've been doing, Mike's only been recently involved, I think, the last couple of them.
I think
But,
so.
Lorenzo's done 3 or 4 of these now where it's like a showing of an old comedy classic movie at the Mayfair.
Yeah.
And then they do kind of a podcasty panel after with comics. So
that
I'm
movie, I
fucking
just
excited.
saw the Everything Wrong with what's it called? The movie's called. It's a Christmas movie. The guy's like this. He's stuck in like.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
No, you got me here. I don't know. I can't
I can't
help
remember
you.
the
Sorry.
movie. I can't remember the movie. But yeah, I just saw Everything Wrong with It, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. And it's one of those bad movies, just like The Room.
The one we're doing, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's it's Christmas Vacation.
Yes, I just saw Everything Wrong with Christmas Vacation.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I don't want any. I want to go into the movie
because I
blind.
never seen it either, and I was like, oh, and then
It's supposed to be like a classic
yeah,
too,
I like
right?
watching the ending explain stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, you can take your rip. I see.
No, it's still heating up.
Oh, okay. I used to smoke. I was a smoker for 7 years, from 20 to
You're talking cigarettes now?
27. Yeah,
Yeah.
cigarettes, and I smoke weed. But I knew I had to quit because this one guy I was like almost like obsessed with. Coincidentally, his name was Chris, but he didn't like cigarette smoke because he didn't smoke himself, and
It's a fair complaint.
he said that I was smoking. He came to a smoking section to say hi, and he took a step back from me, and I'm like, oh, what's wrong? He's like, oh, I just don't like the smell of that. I'm like, oh. So in my head, I'm like, oh. So one of the reasons we don't want to go out with me is because I smoke, and then I quit smoking and I went on the vaporizer.
Oh, so you quit smoking to try to get this guy?
Yeah, and then he started dating a smoker, but she was beautiful.
Oh, that's a dick
Blonde,
move, though.
beautiful, blonde, gorgeous, young. I'm like, I get it. You know, there was probably some emotional things to that with that. Like they clicked, but it was all like, I get it. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And when it happens, it happens. Like me and Mr. Lapointe, like me and him were so similar, and like our political views. Like I just want to freaking like wrap my arms around him 24/7. I'm just like, you're my big cuddly teddy bear.
You guys seem like
He's
a good
throwing
match.
up right now. If he was watching this, he's throwing up right now. He's going, oh. He hates the mushy stuff, but I love it.
So you just force him to hold hands and that kind of
Yeah.
shit.
So I quit. Well, he actually started holding my hand first. He would never admit it. But so I quit smoking, and I was on the vaporizer for about 2.5, 3 years. And what I did was I started at like 9 milligrams of nicotine, and then I went down for those 2.5.
Wean yourself off, yeah.
And then June of 2017, I went to Nova Scotia, and I said, I'm not going to bring my vaporizer because it's at 0.
Just cut off that option. Yeah,
And
you might
then
as
I
well.
went to Nova Scotia without having my vaporizer, not wanting a cigarette, smoking a lot of weed. But it was amazing.
That was how I quit, man. I smoked cigarettes
Yeah.
from like 13 to 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I partially quit when I met my ex-wife, but it was also just, smoking
Mm-hmm.
weed was a nice way to kind of still be able to smoke something and get part of that habitual
Yeah.
without having any of the nicotine.
I like it to giggle. I'm people use weed as like a medical crutch in a way. Sorry, that word has a lot of like implications, but some people use it to like calm their nerves. Me, if I don't smoke it in the right sense, where I'm watching a funny movie or I'm playing like No Man's Sky on PS4
Just
for
something
6
fun.
hours,
Yeah.
it becomes more like the gear of paranoia. And I'm
lot of
stuck
people
in
get
my own
that.
thoughts.
Especially
And-
sativas.
Exactly. Like I want to smoke weed when I'm thoroughly distracted and I want to giggle my butt off. That's where
I have
am.
actually found the same thing with a lot of drugs, especially like weed and shrooms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
People that have bad trips, if they would just like occupy themselves with
Yeah.
something while they're on it, they wouldn't give themselves that avenue to kind of implode their brain
Exactly.
with,
Self implosion is exactly the
I've
that's what
talked
it
about
feels
this
like.
before. If
It's
you're going to hit a
it's
sativa,
spiral.
go to the fucking gym.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. Go do something where you're occupied.
Yeah.
You
Oh, he said sativa. I was thinking of the other thing. I'm like, wait, did he just say that? What is
Indica
the one?
is the other one.
Yeah. No, I was thinking of the other thing, the one that you smoke, you hold in for 10 seconds, and then you get shot up into a alien spacecraft.
Oh, you're thinking of salvia.
Salvia. That's
Good
what I thought you
Lord.
said for a second. I was
Salvia's
like, whoa,
fucking
you don't
weird.
take salvia and go to the gym. That's the first thing I was like.
Oh, that would be one
Can
thing
you
to see.
imagine? The one thing I've never did is salvia. But you.
Oh, you've never done
Are
it?
you
I've done it.
you know Ari Shafir?
Yeah.
Or Shaffer, whatever people. There you can watch him doing salvia on a podcast, and he's just like tripping the fuck out, and it was the worst decision ever because the girl there, she kept like trying to put the microphone to his mouth and stuff, trying to hear things he's saying, but he's like dying, and I'm like, get that thing away from him, because he's now freaking out because there's blobs moving around him. It's like the worst
It's fucked up.
worst place to have a salvia trip.
It's a really weird drug.
It is.
The weirdest part, in my opinion, being how long it lasts in comparison to how intense it is.
Mm-hmm.
No other drug will make you feel like you're fucking rocketing to another planet and then be completely back to sober like 2 minutes later. It's not even 10 minutes when I used to do it. I don't know. We got the weak stuff because you could buy it at the bong shops.
Yeah.
And there was like
The one on Rito.
5X,
That goes
10X.
into Montreal Road.
Oh, like Rock Junction or something probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where I get all my piercings, Rock Junction. That's where I
yeah.
got my
I got a
chest
shitty tattoo there when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm actually, for the people who don't know me, I'm tattooed like everywhere. I'm just like,
Yeah, you have a lot,
I'm
yeah.
just like hiding them.
Oh, that's cool. It's like a cosmic constellation
Yeah,
or something.
it's a nebula with the
Nice.
constellation of Cancer.
That's just well done.
Thank you. It's from Neophyte Tattoos in Montreal. My friend Sarah Saba, she does this amazing work. It's a watercolor, not one black line.
Right on.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
she's
really does look
amazing.
like a painting. It's
does.
fucking sweet.
Yeah, and people ask me, they'll like tap me on the shoulder. You're bleeding. I'm like, nah. That's
Oh,
just
they just see the one side.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. But I love it. Like, I love my tattoos, but sometimes I just feel like, I'm not. Sometimes I want to show my tattoos. Sometimes I don't. I have that option.
It's nice to
you know?
be able to cover them when you. I mean, you couldn't wear this in
Exactly.
the summer without being extremely uncomfortable, but
No, I am.
but that's not offensive. At least it's not like some crazy weird tattoo. It's just like a
I
nice,
want to
pretty
get a
piece
lot
of art.
more done, but I feel like I need to get more physically fit, tone down. Because
Well, they say tattoos
it
can
just hurts
change.
so much when it's over fatty tissue, but if there's some muscle there, it hurts less. I find that's what I think.
Well, and not only that, but they say that if you get tattoos and then you change your physical shape enough, that
Yeah.
you could warp the tattoo. So
Yeah,
there's
but
that
my
to consider.
tattoos are they're not like this one is right side up. This one is right side up, but it's going to be more like vines and thorns and
Stuff that
like-
wouldn't be overly
Yeah,
affected by
exactly.
that kind of, yeah.
It's
And if you
a-
do it in areas where the skin's really tight, like your arms
Yeah.
or, places where it's not
Like I
going to
have,
change much.
I have a black queen right there.
Cool.
Yeah, that's
Like a chess piece, yeah.
Yeah, that's for me. I'm kind of like my mom because my mom's a black queen and I'm a black queen, and
Nice.
it's like It just reminds me, like, because
And
I
the
was
queen can move.
yeah, because I
more
was
than anyone
raised.
else, right?
I was actually
Yeah.
raised in the black side of my family. Full disclosure, I was raised in the black side of my family, and when I went up into Temiskaming First Nation, that's when I decided to make the biggest effort in my life and reintegrate indigenous culture back in, like, because it was not taken away from me. It was just we were moved out of like the small town beside of our reserve because our mother wanted us to have a better life. And she's like, I'm going to raise my girls in the city. They're going to have a good education. They're not going to be around those negative aspects. But like, that's
Well, no,
how
it makes
people thought
sense.
back in the day, you know? Like,
Well, and the reserves, it sounds like, aren't always the greatest places to be living on. Like, if they're
they can
dilapidated.
and they can't be. It takes a lot of a struggle when, like, the people that you call friends or family are going through struggle and you want to appease them, or you know, it takes a, like, because
Well, and some of these people, if they can't trust their own chief to fucking disperse the funds properly, like,
but
shit like
thankfully
that.
we have a good chief now, and the chief prior to him, they were good. They and also, like, when it comes to people who are downtrodden, they see people like me as an enemy without even, because I'm a city girl.
You're not like true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am just working to make good money, and I want to become a comedian and hopefully be building some of those houses on the reserve for you.
Okay, well,
You
that's
can knock me down, but I want to build you up. Like,
yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I
you.
always feel like when I hear about the issues that we experience with Native communities not being able to prosper as much, I'm always like, why aren't more of them just coming in, even if it's just like them using the system to help their people and then they go back or whatever you got to do. But like, can't you guys go to like university for free and stuff like
exactly.
that?
Well, that's what I'm doing with college right now.
Like, who
but
doesn't
there is
jump
a
on that?
misconception.
Okay.
I do get college for free. I am sponsored, but I have to maintain a GPA over 3.2 or I have to pay it back.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's very
It's
fair. That's a wicked motivator.
That's it.
So that's what I'm saying. There should
Mm-hmm.
be way more fucking successful Native Americans taking that leap,
There
keeping
are.
their grades
and
up.
a lot of people
you
just
know?
disappear too. They're like, I don't want nothing to do with my reserve. I don't want nothing to do with those people. They're you know. But
Oh, really? They completely like just
I
distance themselves?
think it's like me in comedy right now. I'm too young, too innocent to see the trials and tribulations.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I have my altruism isn't tainted like I have with comedy right now. People are like, why do you put that person on? They're not funny. I'm like, this is open mics. We are supposed to put people
That's
on.
the worst attitude,
I
yeah.
know it is the worst attitude.
Because
like,
that person could end up being funny, and you might have just
Exactly.
scared them off
Thank
from
you.
ever
I
taking
hate
another. Yeah.
when people scare people off because they're like, well, they don't book me, they don't think I'm funny, or why did you book them? They're not funny.
Yeah.
And it's horrible because
When
open
someone says that,
mics-
you're like, "Fuck you! Why don't you just worry about your spot?
you know,
Let
what?
me run the show."
It puts
Yeah.
a little seed in my head that reminds me that is who that person is. And
Don't give them a spot next time.
well, I would. Like, I give people spots who I don't like, but I still admire them of their craft.
Yeah, yeah.
'cause I
That's-
want to separate the two from the person in the craft. But some people, they just put them together. Oh, you are your act.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's what happened to Andrew Dice Clay, and look what happened to him.
Exactly.
He's not
yeah.
even himself anymore. He is
Indistinguishable,
Clay.
yeah.
He's not.
He's the dice man.
Yeah, he's not he's Dice Man. He's not even who he was
Yeah.
before because he merged his act with himself.
like a metamorphosis. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's something to be said about putting somebody up if they've gone up 20 times and they're still not funny. That's maybe a different story. Someone needs to have
Yeah.
a sit down with that person and be like, look, maybe you're great at surfing.
Mm-hmm. My boyfriend likes to put me in my place all the time, and he's all like, but you're not funny. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
I don't honestly know that I've ever seen you do. I think I've seen you do like hosting little.
Yeah, I'm
I've never
I'm an amateur. I'm still new. I don't know my voice yet. I've done deadpan. I've done like shouty. I'm doing a lot of cringe comedy. Oh, that my cringe set did not go well. But this is what open mics are for. You're supposed to try
You're
new things. You're
experimenting,
supposed to
yeah.
repetition, and I get it. A lot of the comedians in the indie rooms are putting their friends on a lot because they want to ramp up their friends, hence, Click Nation. But I know, but it takes away what a lotto is when you just scrap your lotto and put your friend on. It takes away what an open mic is if you just have the same 5 people on every single time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I get it. I put
sends the wrong
my
message.
boyfriend on a lot, but he helps me with setup. He helps me with lighting. He helps me find amateurs to get on my show. He's doing some of the work. So I give him that, but he's the only one I put on a lot. And I do have a favorite. My boyfriend is my favorite. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not unfunny either. I've seen
and
him.
he's amazing.
I've
like,
seen him more times
he
than you,
can
for
reset
sure.
a room like that. Like, it's a. He's a great
I really
guy.
like his.
If you weren't funny, I wouldn't fuck you. Sorry.
I saw a set of his where he starts with like some really deadpan like pun jokes about like poo and number 2, and they're the most, I guess, childish in a way, but they're so funny.
I know.
They got me every time.
You kind of know it's coming, but you don't know what's coming. Like,
Yeah,
you know what he's saying?
exactly.
It's like, I have 8 more of these poop
takes
jokes,
another
but I'll
turn.
stop at number 2.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
joke.
I'm sorry. What were we saying?
Sorry, no, I was just I have so much shit written down here. I'm trying to, because I have another podcast after this too. I got to keep that in mind.
You're at 95 minutes.
Oh,
so
snap.
That's pretty good for us. Like, that's one of the longest ones so far. Okay, well, we'll talk on one more topic before we ask you the superpower thing, because I know you've got one.
Yes.
But just security, because you do security. That's the only other
Yes.
thing. I did security for like on and off almost 9 years or
Yeah.
something. So experiences, you still do security,
I've
right?
been a security guard since 2014. I started at event security doing the Red Blacks and the Panda. What is it? Wait, the Panda. Sorry, I think that
This
was
is your
the event.
fucking resume.
Yeah, the Red Blacks and the soccer games, and then I went into the hospitals right afterwards. And I wanted to be RCMP at that time.
Oh, okay.
But if I stopped wanting to be RCMP because if the RCMP were as 10% as corrupt as a hospital was, I wanted nothing to do with it because I have a higher moral, ethical.
Do you think they are?
Oh yeah, they have to be because of what the indigenous communities say up north and everywhere.
Actually, I've heard a lot of that
they
too.
believe that 75% of the missing and murdered indigenous women are because of RCMP, and half of those men are retired
Wait,
right
them
now.
actually doing the murders or just not doing their jobs
No,
properly?
doing the murders and
Whoa.
hiding the bodies on RCMP land because you can't excavate it.
That sounds like maybe a slight conspiracy
Government
theory.
can't
I don't know.
excavate the RCMP land. Nobody can. So that's the perfect place to hide a body.
Damn.
I know. So
That sounds like a horror movie.
I know, and it scared me
man.
so much. I'm like, because I would be a target because I have this sense of like being truthful and honest, and I have a big mouth, and they're like, you would probably
So you were legit afraid that if you became an RCMP officer, someone that you worked with would kill you?
100%.
Yeah, but I don't know, man, because even if the stat is true and the 75% thing is true, I don't think any of those were Native American cops.
I know,
don't think they killed their fucking coworkers. That's hardcore.
Well, you never know. I
mean,
you know what?
murder's
I
hardcore,
watch
but-
too many crime shows. Maybe that's my problem. But yeah, so from the hospitals, I went to building. I work downtown in the World Exchange Plaza.
Okay.
Not the World Trade Center, the World Exchange
No, I know what you're talking
Plaza.
about. They used to have a movie theater
Yeah,
in there.
and I've been there for 4 years now, and it's the best job I've had in a while. But I do want to get out of security, hence why I'm in massage therapy in college right now.
Nice.
Because I've had to do some things that I regret. Like
With security, you mean?
Yeah, I
Are you, because I know when I did security, there's like
Yeah.
an extra course you could take to get to where like Kevlar and you
I,
have to like
I
tackle
wear a
people
vest
and shit.
and I've tackled people.
Okay.
And I think that's where I regret having to tackle people and arrest them. And a lot of my indigenous brothers and sisters I've had to arrest because of them coming to steal alcohol, even at any race. But it was just like, oh man, I need to get out of here because as much I want to be an advocate for my people, I do not want to be a threat. I do not want to be an enemy. I don't want them to see me like that. And like, I know
There's a different side of that coin, though. They could see
Yeah.
you as someone making something of your life, and
it takes a long time for
know what
that
I mean?
because
Yeah.
like I said, even today on my reserve, I'm still a city girl. And they're not the vagrants that are stealing. They're not, it's that thing. It's very complex. It's a dynamic.
true, yeah.
But being a security guard has given me the backbone that I need to almost tackle anything in my life because
Nice.
nothing can be worse than that guy spitting in my face and throwing punches at me.
Oh.
Nothing can be worse than,
You had like a homeless dude spit in your face?
Oh yeah.
Did it get on
I've
you?
had
like, in
people
your-
throw
oh.
punches. I've had to suplex a guy. I've had to do so much. Oops, sorry. I had to do so much. Thing.
Suplex? I don't know if you had to suplex.
No,
You're like, I
he was
had
get-
to pull out the
he was
WWE
getting away.
moves.
He was getting away, and I'm a little girl, and he's a big guy, and I know I have a low center of gravity, so I like just wrapped my arms around him and like threw him over my. It was
Shit.
yeah.
Too bad you didn't get that on video. That'd be
No,
badass. Did you
and-
have a baton or like a nightstick or whatever?
No, we only have our hands.
No mace or anything?
I know.
That's crazy. If someone pulls a knife on you, you should have something.
Yeah, we're only allowed to arrest when somebody's a threat to themselves and others. And at that time, he was just stealing a bottle, and
Oh, so you have cuffs.
in retrospect, no, we don't.
Oh, no.
So we have to actually hold them down till the police come.
Get a zip tie or
We
something.
have to citizens arrest them. I know.
Still have a zip tie.
We're not allowed.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah, and
So
you
not
know
only you have
what?
to
We're
catch
not
somebody, you
even
have to
supposed to
sustain-
do what I did. Hence, my regret. I just when your adrenaline kicks and they're right, so you're right, you're wrong kind of mentality. Like I'm going to do what I have to do to arrest you and all that stuff. And I'm
Did you
like,
kill him and bury him in the RCMP field?
no, hilarious now. But if you're watching this, I am sorry I suplexed you. I shouldn't have done that. It was out of my character.
And
Sorry.
she hopes you walk again.
Yes.
No.
Oh, he's fine.
I
far
didn't
as
think
I
you would
know.
bring it up if you like broke his spinal cord.
No,
That'd be
no.
a dark turn
I
for
actually,
this podcast.
I let him go because I felt horrible, and when my cortisol level came down, I'm like, man, I'm so sorry. He was perfectly fine. Like it was like when you're with your brother and sister and you do
Rough
that kind of
housing
thing.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
more like a rough housing. It wasn't like, bah,
But enough that
broken
he's not going to
collarbone.
probably try and fuck around again.
No, he came back the next day and tried to, and then he
Oh,
came
really?
back like 3 weekends afterwards, and
Okay,
he was
I'm
perfectly
wrong.
normal. Like so,
Damn.
yeah. And then
No, I meant like doing that to him didn't scare him off from coming back and
No.
trying. Oh, Jesus.
No, it's
Well then.
they're sick.
Yeah.
They have the it's like alcohol brain. It's like I am the liquor, from Trailer Park
Oh,
Boys.
yeah. Jim Leahy.
That's
yeah.
it.
You'd think they'd like maybe switch it up and go somewhere else for a couple
They
weeks.
do.
You know? Yeah.
It's like they go to Toronto and then they do the same thing there, and then they come back, and it's just like they just go to different cities. They go to London, Ontario. They come here, and then they travel around a lot. Like then you have Skid Row in Vancouver. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
the vagrants, they go over there because I used to be a street kid myself, and I've been in the shit, so I know that they travel. For someone who doesn't have housing, they travel a lot.
Well, the weirdest thing I've been seeing is like when we were kids, it was like you'd see homeless people downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started seeing them near like the highway ramps, and then you still see that.
Yeah.
Now I see them in fucking suburbia,
Yeah.
outside of Walmart in Barhaven.
Yeah,
Like,
or
what the fuck?
Stittsville.
Yeah,
out of all
anywhere
places.
now. It's-
And you know what? The LRT displaced them because that's how they got across the city. The 95 or the 94. That's how they got, and you didn't need like they would just hop on the back of the bus. But now they're displaced, so you don't I don't see them that often downtown anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
just
now they
spreading
just like stay in a section of town.
It never seemed like a good idea, though. You'd think downtown would be the place where even if you get booted from here, you can just walk here and go walk. It's the closest place to have a constant populace, surrounding you that
Yeah.
might be giving you change or whatever. Like Walmart entrance, sure. Barhaven, I guess you're using the suburban. Like these people all have money. I don't know. It seems
And
fucking
before
weird,
we
though.
close, I would just like to thank Chris Kingsbury for helping me with some jokes and also giving me my equipment. Not giving me, sorry, assisting me with my equipment because he is the one who showed me where to get my speaker.
Nice. Okay, he's a jack of all trades.
Yeah, and him and Matt Santos, they both helped me with the formula of my show, how to do a proper open mic. So I want to give them some
Nice.
props.
Yeah, shout
And,
out to
yeah.
Chris and Matt.
Chris and Matt, they were the only ones who really talked to me like a human being, not some like noob
Last
who didn't
time
know what
I
she was
heard
talking
they
about.
had some kind of beef, but
Oh yeah, I know. But
I'm
when
not
they
gonna get
were
into that.
together, when they were,
don't
when
even
they
really
were a
know.
single unit. Actually, they weren't even a unit then. They were just like both comedians at this time.
yeah,
Like,
they were working together for a while, and then something happened.
Yeah,
and now they're-
whatever.
Anyways, yeah, I'm not
Men.
Yeah, maybe they'll
But
patch it up.
I just want to thank them for their contributions into helping me with my show. And
Thanks to each of you, respectively, separately,
yeah,
not together
separately.
since you're not friends.
Exactly.
Maybe. We don't know.
disclaimer.
By the time this comes out, maybe they're already friends again.
Yeah,
I
I don't know.
don't know. Okay, so we do have to wrap it up because I
Yeah,
got
of
another
course,
guest
I
coming,
know.
but I want to
Thank you.
know your superhero. Like if you could have any power, something we ask everybody.
If I had any power,
Oh, I thought you would have.
I would have rogue's power.
No, we've said this before. Sorry, I should have started out.
Oh, it can't
There's no
be-
flying.
Oh, okay.
Flying is just out because it's too easy, and you don't pick a character, you pick a power.
Oh, pick a power?
One power.
I would want telekinesis.
Okay, that's what Chris said too. He originally said the Force, and I was like, whoa.
No.
The Force is way too much.
I would like telekinesis like, I don't want to say it, Matilda, but...
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I almost have to like take out telekinesis because you can essentially fly. You can just float yourself
yeah,
around.
if I thought about it, but
then you can't use it for
Professor
anything
X
else.
didn't really think about it.
No, everybody says Professor X. Professor X did not have telekinesis.
No.
That's the second time I have to assert that.
Okay.
He's only telepathic.
Oh, telepathy.
Jean Grey, on the other hand.
Yeah.
Anyway,
For sure.
I'm a nerd.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Yo,
You're
thanks a lot.
amazing.
We always high five.
Oh, okay.
Boom. And yeah, come back
Grr.
anytime. Oh, you have to play me on the arcade.
Okay.
And take a picture, but that's it.
Sure.
Everybody, see you
Thank
later.
you, guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Cool. Yeah, that was
Is that
good,
your
man.
longest one ever?